this area Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order for today, Tuesday the 26th. Can I get a roll call of the members, please? Kat?
Yes. Andy Bailey.
Here.
Grant Muller is Stacy Gettico.
Here.
Scott Fessenberger.
Here.
And Chester Bankes.
Here.
Okay. Anybody have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No. I'd make a move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that. And we'll just take a yay or nay vote. All those in favor signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Opposed? Motion passed. Old business. Do we have any old business?
No old business.
Okay. It's on to the public hearings. We've got one tonight. It's application number CC-23 or 2023-00897, docket number 36-23-SC. It's a petition for Quilella R. Fernandez. Is that? Okay. Sorry, I butchered that. Asking for a special exception for an accessory apartment. Kat, can you take us through the?
Sure. So the petition site consists of 2.258 acre lot that is located between North Hamilton Road and North County Road 400 West on the south side of West State Road 38 in section 24 of Washington. Proposed accessory structure for accessory apartment. Property owner will reside in the existing dwelling. The petitioner came into the area plan office to obtain an electrical permit. Have both the house and the accessory apartment on the parcel. She would have to first get a special exception approval from the EPA. As the structure currently sits, it does not meet residential occupancy is obtained with no one living inside it. In addition to the residential building codes that are it does have bathroom facilities, but it must be confirmed by the health department that this accessory apartment can be either hooked into the existing septic or have a separate septic will be required. And I've got more on that throughout the report here, so.
I was gonna say, what's it hooked into now?
Now I believe it's hooked into your dwelling septic, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple photos there of where it's laid out on the parcel, the apartment itself, too. Okay, so, the proposed use conforms to the district provisions in which it will be located in all general ordinance. So there may be a maximum of one accessory apartment established. This is met, there's only one apartment and there is a dwelling on the parcel. The accessory apartment must be clearly secondary and incidental to the principal dwelling. Any exterior modifications to the existing structure. The new apartment will be in a structure that is smaller in footprint than the house. The accessory apartment will either be detached structure. In this case, that will need to be renovated to meet all residential buildings. The owner of the property must reside in the dwelling or in the accessory. it's to our understanding the owner. Why it's in the existing dwelling. There may be no exterior stairways, which in this case that does not apply to this one. Accessory apartments in a principal dwelling unit must have interior access between. This also does not apply to this particular situation because it's a detached. Okay, so all applicable building code, county building code, and county health department standards shall be met. So the applicant understands they will need to meet the residential code, and Nash Smith from the has completed an extensive record research within his department and has not found his property address septic system on file. Therefore, the health department cannot consider whether there is enough capacity for the system, since the existing house does not have any known. Mr. Smith further determined that either a whole new system will need to be installed so that existing three-bedroom dwelling and the proposed one-bedroom system, or a separate system will need to be installed that will only be for the proposed. So they can either have one, put in a whole new one that'll take care of the house and the apartment, or they just put in one for the apartment. And this site does have adequate for both the house and the apartment. Okay, so other finding or other criteria that it must meet. The health department has determined a septic system will need to be installed, whether it will only be for the proposed apartment itself or to connect to existing dwelling and proposed. This application is approved, a permit will be required to make this as well as a septic permit. The accessory apartment will be located beside and to the rear of the existing dwelling, with the front of it facing the existing dwelling. Accessory structure for the existing structure sits further back, West State Road 38. This finding does appear to meet the buildings and grounds. Proposed use shall produce a total environmental impact consistent with and not. This accessory apartment will sit toward the rear of the house in a structure that appears as a type of a storage shed. Given the location of the property, on the property where the accessory type of structure that it is, and that it is an existing structure with no prior complaints to staff's knowledge, this apartment appears it will. Proposed use shall organize vehicular access and parking to minimize conflicting traffic movement on adjacent streets. There is adequate space for additional parking for the accessory apartment. Since the access though is from State Road, Craig Carpenter, permit investigator, reports that their department does not have an issue with this request of the petitioners, as long as the driveway entrance remains as further noted that if they ever improve or reconfigure their permit from NDOT. Mr. Carpenter likely will not allow a second access. In regards to the comprehensive plan, and it's consistent with it, like most of these that come through, and use School 2 says to promote the development of residential areas with high-quality housing and a variety of type, style, densities, use of the accessory apartments subject to board approval supports this. So, and the recommendation, consequently, staff recommends to approve the special exception request with the condition that the approval is only valid for 1 year from the date of the. And if a certificate of occupancy is not obtained within 1 year, this approval will expire. This 1 year timeline will enable for the structure to meet the required residential building codes and have an approved septic system in place. And having put that condition in there now, if they are like this time next year and they're moving forward, they've got all the residents and they're moving forward, we're not gonna expired, you know. As long as they're moving forward, we just don't want this hanging out here for, it's kind of where we were
Yep. Thank you, Kat.
gonna.
Does the petitioner have anything to add? Okay. Is there anybody else that'd like to add anything to this
I
request?
just have a question as to which building it is. Is it the one that comes right out from your garage?
Can you,
The bigger building? With the flag out front?
Yes.
Okay.
that's it? Okay. He had a question about which building on the property, so, and it was answered. Any board discussion?
I think the staff did a nice job going through the report. I think it seems like one that's easily accommodated by the way that we have the regulations set up. Seems like it's a good one for approval, a clear one for approval. So, unless there's any other comments, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve application CC 2023-00897, docket 3623 SE, according to the findings of the staff report, which are incorporated in the motion by reference with the conditions referenced in the staff reports.
Can I just ask a question before we do that?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think you're supposed to
I'm just
second the
curious.
motion first
We'll-
before you ask the question.
We'll call it a learning moment.
Okay,
So, we have a septic system that doesn't have a permit on file.
Because it was before we started the permitting process.
So that's probably pretty common in.
Yes.
It is very common. In older homes out in the country,
Yeah.
county, you're gonna have that.
So the policy then diverts
Is-
to, it's the homeowner's responsibility to put a new septic in this scenario.
If that, well, they don't necessarily have to put one in for the house. If the house failed, if the house had a failing system right now, then yeah, of course. But they don't have to put one in for the house and the apartment. But they do have to put one in for at least the apartment.
So they have no way to determine whether the existing septic will,
Fail.
well, not fail, but handle the additional load.
Right, so that's the reason why the health department won't allow them to hook into the current system.
And quite frankly, with an older system, I can almost guarantee you that if you added to it, you'd have a problem.
Yeah.
One of the things I would mention to the applicant just to consider is, with an older system, it probably will, I mean, that every 30 years or so, they fail. And you only have so many places on your lot you can do this, so you might want to consider whether at this time it makes sense to put in a system that takes care of both at the same time, rather than do a smaller system now and then later on have to do a larger system and have trouble finding a place for it on your property.
Now, the old system,
Probably as long, if not longer, because the technology's better now, I think. And a lot of it depends on the usage, you know.
Yeah.
I second the motion. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll seek a roll call vote. Kat, when you're ready.
Okay, Amy Bailey,
Yes.
Stacy Kettigo,
Yes.
Scott Hetzmanberger,
Yes.
and Chester.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Okay, so what you'll need to do now is get to those items that we talked about, the inspection that Liz and I did. Do you have any other questions about that? So you'll need to get a permit with us for those. If they're thick. But before we can issue a permit, I mean, you can start getting us items that we need for the permit. We won't be able to issue it until we have a septic permit from the health department that they approve of whatever system you're gonna decide to go with.
okay, so,
The renovations that you have to do,
permit, I need the septic.
you know, you don't have to have the septic put in, you just need to get. Yeah,
Oh.
and then, of course,
That along with
yeah, and then when your renovations are done, of course, the apartment won't be given occupancy until we have something signed off from the health department that your
Okay.
septic is in at that time. Okay? All right.
all set?
Yep.
Over, thanks.
Do we have
Don't
any?
have anything other than, our next meeting's October 24th. Do you have a filing? So, I know we have a filing, and our conflict of interest that we used to have with the city of being able to get the city council chamber is no longer there. So I've got it set up and reserved that we'll be at the Stony City Council chambers
Okay.
for that meeting on
Okay.
October the 24th. And I'll remind you guys again,
Okay.
so you know where to go.
So our next meeting will be October 24th in the
Old Stone.
council chambers for the city, which is in Old Stony.
That's correct, yeah,
Okay.
down below, pretty much below, it's right below our office.
Cool. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
2 seconds?
Me.
Stop.
Scott.
So I was just questioning, you didn't let me answer my question or ask my question again before you
What's that?
seconded that motion.